Hey guys, welcome to my review of HHN 27. As part of this review, I'm going to rank each of the houses from 1 to 9, 1 being the best or strongest and 9 being the worst or weakest in terms of scares or theming. Now, I went to HHN 27 from September 22nd to 24th and went through each house at least twice, so you can believe that I experienced a good bit of each house. Now, let's get on to the review. For number 9, we have Saw the Game's Jigsaw. I knew from the get-go that this house was going to be the least favorite for me, because the house is just watching things happen, and there are no real scares coming from anyone other than pigmen, which can be repetitive. The house was themed pretty well, but that doesn't take away from the fact that this house has been at HHN before, and had the same traps and props. It was basically a rehash of old stuff. The house was basically a marketing tool for the new Jigsaw movie, which is why it's going at the bottom of the list. Coming in at number 8, we have the Blumhouse of Horrors. Again, another marketing house simply for the sake of marketing. I'll give a few reasons why this house simply didn't work for me, but first, let me explain the premise. You were supposed to get several scenes from each movie, such as Sinister, The Purge, and Insidious, and instead we got one room for Sinister, one room for Purge, and the rest was for Insidious. Insidious is great, and I love it, but it can't just be marketing for the new Insidious movie and one room for every other property. Also, I feel like people-centric houses just don't work. And what I mean by that is houses work if there are a variety of scares coming from several monsters, not just people. Houses like Run, Havoc, and The Purge don't work as a house, they work better as a scare zone because of the level of interactivity you get from the actors in that setting. So that is why this house is ranked number 8. It has more scares than Saw, but it's just, like I said, it's another marketing house, so that's why it's not higher up on the list. Coming in at number 7, we have Ash vs. Evil Dead. This house was pretty good and had several lines in the house that you'll be quoting the rest of the night with your buddies, such as this.
Hello, pussies!
The house had pretty good sets and was a hilarious romp in the world of Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is why this house is above Saw and Blumhouse. Coming in at number 6, we have The Shining. The sets were great, there were tons of scares, all the famous scenes were there, including the blood elevator and the hedgemaid scene. I mean, they even had that weird bear fetish thing in there as well, so that was a nice touch. Overall, I'd say this was a top contender maze. I mean, it's worthy to be up there, but there's just the originals really just knocked it out of the park this year, and I'll get to those later. But I'd say this was a very strong house and worth the number 6 spot. Coming in at number 5, we have The Fallen. It had impressive set design, but not much in terms of an actual battle going on, which is I thought we were gonna get, is like angels and demons kind of like fighting, and we're gonna go through the battle, but we just saw a bunch of demons, and not that that's bad, but it's just not what we didn't get what was advertised. Basically, there was a lot of cool aspects such as flying demons and very cool scares, but not a lot, like I said, in terms of a cohesive story or the battle between the light and the dark. So that's why this is gonna get the number 5 spot. For number 4, I'm going to give this to American Horror Story. The sets were great, the scares were good, and there was a variety of monsters from each season. And it is also the Uber Maze this year, or the biggest maze, so you will get a ton of great sets and cool monsters and visuals, especially in Roanoke. There were some really good scares from that season in this house. So that's why number 4 is going to American Horror Story. For number 3, we have The Hive. This was a sleeper hit for me. I was kinda on the fence until we went into the house, and it was super cool. starting in a decrepit house and moving our way through until we get into the cave layer of the vampires. There were tons of vampires and even dudes on stilts in this house. This is one house you can't miss if you decide to go. That's why this house is number 3 on the list for me. For number 2, we have Dead Waters. This house had an amazing facade and tons of scares. It even had a section of the house that was unlevel as to make you think you were in a sinking riverboat ship. The swamp area even had a mushy floor as well. The maze itself was based in a swamp in New Orleans with the Voodoo Queen and her village of minions, and you really felt like you were in a swamp with zombies and voodoo practitioners. Truly a house to remember this year. That's why this year I'm giving this house the number 2 spot. For the number 1 spot, we have Scarecrow the Reaping. This house was truly awesome. Tons of scares, great sets, super creative, a true return to form for Halloween Horror Nights. In one section, you could look up into a living room while you were in the basement. Very awesome, tons of scares, like I said. They even grew real corn for the facade portion of this maze. That's why this is getting the number 1 spot on my list, as far as houses are concerned. As far as scare zones go, this was kind of a weak year in my opinion, so let's start with the good ones. Trick or Treat was pretty good, and it was a beautiful scene with all the pumpkins and trees and characters running around. The Purge, as I said, always works well as a scare zone because of the actor interaction with the guests. Invasion was cool and silly at the same time, so it was fun going through there, looking at the spaceship and the aliens fighting the G.I. Joes and stuff like that. Now for the weak ones. Festival of the Deadliest was basically like a stripper emporium, and it should have been renamed Festival of the Boners. I mean, check this. And the last is Icons of Horror area was weak. There was no real theming. It was basically a photo op area. It should have just been called photo op area, as there's no real theming or anything, like I said. Overall, I'd say it was a great year and well worth the ticket to go. The event is still going on, so if you are in the area, be sure to go ahead and check it out. Thanks for watching. Please check out my other videos, like, subscribe, and share as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.